to the YouTube channel. We do have like one YouTube watcher, and I feel bad I left him out.
Shout out to that person.
Yeah, it's that bummed in. A game that I was back and forth on. I probably should have put in my super contest instead of the Chiefs. Now that I think about it, but Colts actually won 34-27.
They live,
and they actually did it. Oh my gosh!
On the back of Matt Ryan.
We're literally not talking about Detroit. They're on the bye week. But we have to give them credit on the back of Matt Ryan. They're finding a way to overcome, because every time you want to say that this is it, they're out. I'd even told
I threw in the towel.
I was like, yo, Frank Wright about to get fired, man. It sucked. He put his faith in the wrong quarterbacks, and boom, they overcome it. This Jags team has to. When is their bye week? They really need to have a sit down, come to Jesus moment, and like their mantra for the rest of the year needs to be: we will not lose the game for ourselves.
This is one of those games you look through the Jags stat line. Like Trevor Lawrence, he wasn't throwing deep balls or anything, but 20 of 22. You got 240 yards on the ground as a team. 3 different guys over 50 yards, and you end up losing the game. And it really was just they could not cover Michael Pittman. Matt Ryan doing work. I mean, this has been a good defense. Like the games they've lost generally there's been bigger problems on the offense. But today, they could not get a stop when they needed it. No Jonathan Taylor. Matt Ryan throws 58 passes. That should generally be a win for the other team if that's what's happening. And it wasn't today.
Yeah, shout out to Matt Ryan, who passed Dan Marino on the all-time passing list. The economy is not the only thing inflated, but hey, he did it, and he should be recognized for that. This game, is there a shadier team than the Dolphins right now? The Vikings 24, Dolphins 16. Like, how did Teddy Bridgewater make it on the field? He wasn't even supposed to be playing, apparently.
Well, he got cleared, and they said only in an emergency will he play. Well, he's the only backup quarterback on the roster right now. So when Skylar Thompson hurts his thumb, obviously Teddy comes in. So, I thought it was weird that they didn't just make Teddy the starter if he was good to go. I don't really understand the thought process here, but didn't matter either way, apparently.
Mike McDaniel said he just does what he's told. So who the fuck is telling you? Like, aren't you the coach?
It's not the owner, because he's not.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's the yes man. It's probably the owner through different channels. But it's in criminal justice, we used to talk about pathology. How does every quarterback that suits up for the Dolphins get hurt?
Get hurt?
Yeah, we need to have. You want to talk about training staffs, Mr. Carlton? You need to look at that training staff. Everybody falls down and then they get concussed immediately. So, and Spencer wasn't doing that bad, but it kind of sucks for the Dolphins because they really did have high hopes and started so hot, and then it's just unraveling. They're another team that really needs a bye week.
Oh,
we should do a segment on
multiple bye weeks.
Yeah. Let's see what the next.
And the Vikings also 5-1, which doesn't feel that, like, outside of the Giants, the Vikings being 5-1 is the one that feels the weirdest. But they're in a good spot.
They're trash. Bengals 30, New Orleans 26. Love everything about the Bengals offense except for their coach and their scheme. I'm out on them.
The players are good. Honestly, I think the line is starting to get better. It's still not great, but but do I think Zach Taylor is going to get better? No, I don't. So that continues to be the Achilles heel of this team. But I was worried earlier in this game where I was like, damn it, Bengals, are you really going to lose this game to Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill? And thankfully, they didn't. Jamar Chase came alive. Easily his biggest game of the season. 2 touchdowns, one of them a 60-yarder. So, Joe Burrow looked great. Bengals keeping pace. I mean, so many of these divisions are like a bunch of 3-3 teams. The AFC North is one of them. So, they're right there.
Tristan's picks are looking like he's going to go under 500 this week.
Who did he take in the Sunday night game?
He took the Cowboys.
Oh.
And one of them I almost changed for him, but he was distracted this week. He was at my cousin's. He wasn't here where he could focus, where I could put him through the sweatshop and make him make the correct.
That's right. You gotta hone him in.
But yeah, it's just annoying to see such talent that Cincinnati has and how they just make it more difficult than what it should be. Right. I guess I got to give a shout out to the Saints offense a little, because I mean they were moving the ball well against the Bengals defense, but also I have to again question, why did they do this to Jameis Winston? Now they're talking about starting Andy Dalton instead of Jameis Winston. What's the difference? The result's the same. Yeah,
I mean, Jameis makes it more exciting, but you end up in the same place again.
Yeah. Jamar Chase finally showed up. He's got some strong hands, man. I gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Giants 24, Ravens 20. Yeah.
This is not a game the Giants should have won. Like, more than any game this year, there's been a couple games like that. What I will say is the fact that I felt more like that after the Giants beat Tennessee than when they beat Green Bay is another bad sign for Green Bay. But they outgained us by, I believe it's 168 yards in this game. Like, they ran for 211 yards on the ground. This is a team that outside of Lamar had been generally struggling to run the ball. Kenyon Drake looked incredible in this game. Mark Andrews, couldn't cover him at all. And we didn't have a receiver get more than 38 yards, and it was our rookie tight end. And we won the game. So that's just kind of the Giants in a nutshell. This is a team that is very well coached, high effort. We don't beat ourselves. And that's what happened in this game is the Ravens beat themselves. 3rd and 1, they converted on a sneak. It's called back for an illegal formation. Next play, bad snap. Lamar throws a pick, and they lose. That's why they lost this game. So it's just, I know all the Ravens fans in the IBN are freaking out. They're like, "This is bad. They can't." Yeah.
Who doesn't matter. The sky's always falling.
Right. They can't close. Listen, this is still a talented team who's missing their top wide receiver. They're 3-3. Sure, that's not great, but again, they're first in the AFC North because they have the tiebreaker over Cincinnati. The sky is not falling. Like, listen, is this frustrating? Should you have lost this game? No, you should be frustrated. But win against Cleveland next week. You've got a winning record. You'll stay in first place. It's another division win. I would continue to keep the faith in a Harbaugh-Lamar team. And as for the Giants, listen, we're not going to win this division. There's 2 teams better than us that are right there that have not started poorly like so many other teams. But we can go 5-6 the rest of the way, get 10 wins, and be insured of a wild card spot. So at this point, yeah, I think if you're a Giants fan, you have to believe in the wild card opportunities. I wouldn't do anything beyond that.
I'm taking a future on the Giants to win the division.
I mean, hey, if you want to throw away money, go for it.
I've already thrown away money this week.
If Jalen Hurts gets injured, lost for the season tonight, and like knock on wood, that won't happen, then I'll believe there's a possibility. That's the only way.
Yeah. So I basically like the I'm a good parent. Let's put it that way. I'm a good parent. I literally bullied the NFC East into being good this year.
You did.
Before the season, I made multiple posts on podcasts. I went multiple rants on the NFC East and how trash they were and this and that. And look at you guys. Look at you.
3 of the 4 of us learned from the rant. 3 of the 4 of us learned.
Yeah, so I'm very happy for you guys. The Cooper Rushes of the league. Yikes. Just so you guys know,
that's actually not a bad.
The comments that are posted in this particular show are not the comments of actually like me and Joe, or rather, even Facebook user might want to take that back.
The Cooper Rush of the league is actually a pretty accurate description of the Giants.
Well, it doesn't matter how long I've been saying the NFC East sucks. It just matters that they finally lived up to the expectations. Well, everybody but that one special kid.
Although I would say expectations for most of us were about where they are. So
speaking of expectations, I mean, if there was one moral victory for me this week, it was that Mike Tomlin beat Tom Brady and that Ronnie now has to wait another week to be like, oh, he's not gonna have a winning season. Yeah, actually, he just beat Tom Brady with Mr. Trubisky. Tom Brady was probably hungover still, but it doesn't matter. Like, how can you have the audacity to skip out on practice on Saturday because you went to a wedding on Friday and fucking yell at me because we're not blocking or something like that? Like, what? Like, nobody challenges him either. They all just sit there and take it like, look, kids, man, if I was worth, I'd have smacked him across his face, yo.
I mean, in fairness, I don't think the offensive line is playing well. But yeah, I think it's a bit of both, though, in that I don't think this offensive line is playing well, definitely not up to the standard they have been the last few years. But also, Brady clearly doesn't trust them. So even if they block something well, he's not going to hold the ball to find out, which is why he's getting the ball faster than ever. 243 yards and 40 attempts. That's not going to work. If you're getting 6 yards of it per attempt, you're going to end up losing quite a few games, and that's what's happening right now. I mean, this is a Steelers defense that was not playing up to their standard. Yeah,
but they made Tom Brady look like Ben Roethlisberger. But I'm asleep.
Yeah, they actually did. And then Chase Claypool, who seemed like the forgotten man in this offense, had his big game. So, yeah, I mean. Are the Steelers probably going to have their first losing season under Mike Tomlin? Yes, they probably are. But at the same time, they're one game out of first place because, again, everyone's got the same record, basically, in the AFC North. So don't throw in the towel yet for the Steelers. Tampa Bay will probably get right and win this division.
Who, Chase Claypool?
What, someone talk shit about Chase?
Oh, maybe he was talking about somebody else. I don't know.
Because he had a good game. Like, I'm not the biggest Claypool guy. There's nothing to argue against today. He caught every pass thrown his way. But yeah, I still think the Bucs win this division. I wouldn't freak out if you're the Bucs, but
he did say that. Yeah, he did say he was the third best. You're right. Bucs. I mean, nobody. Well, the Falcons, if they
where the Falcons feel like the threat.
Yeah, if they could have won head to head, but there's still a possibility. But
again, this is another team, Tampa Bay, much like the Packers. You're playing Carolina next week. This is 100% should be a get right game. If it's not, then you panic. If you do get right, I mean, hey, you're 4-3. There's not, it's not like everyone's awesome in the NFC outside of the East, apparently. So don't freak out. You should be fine if you take care of business next week.
24-10, Rams, Panthers. I'm not spending a lot of time on this. They're supposed to win.
That's what should happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't overly impressive, but hey, you won by 2 scores. So take it.
Seahawks 19, Arizona didn't show up. Did we get another game where Arizona didn't score a touchdown? Is this 3 field goals or is this?
No, I believe they missed an extra point.
Oh, they missed an extra point. Oh,
which I did not watch. They're having some kicking woes, which was part of the reason they attempted 5. They attempted 5 fourth down conversions. Offensive
woes, team woes. That's what they're having right now. They got a lot of woes, a lot of L's too. How is Cliff not fired yet? What are we waiting on?
Cliff is the ultimate issue of when you only look at results and you don't look at process. Because every season he's been there, the record has gotten better.
Yeah.
I think they doubled their wins the first season there because they won 3 games the year before. And then last year you make the playoffs. So if all you look at is results, you'd say, hey, this team's getting better. Cliff and Kyle are going to figure this out. If you actually look at the process of they fall apart every second half of a season, they looked as uninspired as any team I've ever seen in a playoff game, in their playoff game last year. And the fact that you can predict a lot of what they're going to do offensively because he isn't a guy who's changing it up a lot. It's a lot of simple stuff. And for all the shit that Kyler takes, and some of it's deserved, a lot of the last couple of years is him overcoming Cliff's weaknesses. And now that hasn't been working this year. People have figured stuff out to stop them offensively. Defensively, this was a pretty good game. But they've had some off weeks. And I think this team's gonna crater unless Hopkins is gonna provide some huge boost. I think this team's gonna fall apart, and they should hit the reset if that happens. Fire Steve Keim, who maybe should have been fired after he took Josh Rosen, and just hit the reset on this.
We didn't mention that Robbie Anderson My friend Grandma sent it to me, but Robbie Anderson apparently got kicked off the field. The only reason why, like he's got the hair that makes you think he would do something like AB, but he didn't. So I'm a little bit disappointed. And you use way too many characters to explain that Cliff Kingsbury's bad, man. Like I get it. You don't have to be that technical. Like I just wanted you to be like he effing sucks.
I mean, Cliff is bad, but I wanted to get into that argument of just not an argument, but just the whole process versus results. Pay attention to process always, because if the process is good and the results are a little slow, that's the coach, that's the QB you stick with. Don't ever fall for what's going on with Cliff the last few years. Like they gave him an extension. They're gonna have to eat a bunch of money if they fire him.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
And then credit to the Seattle. I mean, again, the Cardinals are a mess, but this is a defense that's been as bad as any defense outside of Detroit. I mean, when they played each other, it was over 1,000 yards of offense. They got 6 sacks today. They showed up. Geno, not his best game, 5 sacks, but hey, the key thing is he was under pressure. He had 1 fumble. They recovered it. So no turnovers. That's all he needed to do today, and he got it done.
Never thought I'd say this, but Geno's better than Russell Wilson.
He's
at least right now. I'm joking.
He is legit playing better than Russell Wilson this year. Yeah. Do I think that continues over the next 11 games? Probably not, but he's playing well.
All right. Awful game. Bills 24, Chiefs 20.
It was disappointing for a long stretch of this game. I think at the end we got.
No, it was a good game. Spagnolia really like blew my mind. There's absolutely no reason that they should score before the half, let alone get a fucking touchdown. How is that possible? And then when you look at the replays, it's man to man with no safety over top on receivers that you've clearly already seen. You're like game in, game out. They're too fast. They're too like good. And so
they're good at the catch point too. Even if you have good coverage, if you give them a little bit of room, these guys are going to make those catches.
Respect the guy, man. Like Jesus, it was just frustrating. And ultimately, it might not have won them the game, but the fact that they lost by 4, and then you like the difference between that field goal and that touchdown at the half is 4. Who knows how it plays out? But I just feel like that wasn't the only mismanagement, because again, in the first touchdown they scored in the second half was Stefan Diggs, man. Like, what are you doing?
They looked like replays of each other.
Like really stupid. But
my favorite part of this game, though, is that with the Bills touchdown that you were talking about right before the half, they scored with 16 seconds left. So 1 more second than the Gabe Davis touchdown.
Yeah.
From last year's playoff game. They got a ton of shit for just kicking it deep. So this time they're like, we're going to squib it. Romo even talked about in the broadcast. He's like, hey, they learned, they squibbed it. The Chiefs got 3 points at the end of it. It took 2 plays, exact same. They make a 61-yard field goal.
You know why? Because they played the same fucking defense.
Right. The problem, everyone shit on them for the decision-making on the special teams. Listen, just play better defense. Like you have.
I'm still going to shit on them for not squibbing it. I still think you have to squib in that situation. I mean, that's the right call.
Probably
you squib. Right. It's a 2-part thing. You squib and you don't play prevent. It's simple. It's really simple. I'm just saying it's really simple.
The funniest part of it too in this game, because that obviously the playoff game last year, both offenses were going insane at the end. In this game, you'd given up 7 points the entire half. You played great defense, and then you allow them to get in the field goal range. But I will say, hey, shout out to the Bills defense for not cratering in the second half the way they did last year. They came up with a key play at the end to seal the win. Von Miller obviously making a difference with the pressures he was getting.
Mm-hmm.
So good on them. And hey, Josh Allen still hurdling people, which is awesome. I love it. I don't know that he should actually continue to do that, but I'm rooting for him to continue.
I get concerned every time he leaves his feet. Somebody's just going to go high and say,
eventually.
Yeah. So a couple minutes left. Eagles, Cowboys.
I got to cover. It's a tough call.
No, we're just doing
straight up. It's the Eagles. I'm not picking the Cooper Rush Cowboys. I don't think the offense is up to it because this is a good Eagles defense. So if you limit CeeDee Lamb, which they should be able to do with their quarter.
Who? Limit CeeDee Lamb? Is that even like a game plan? They do that themselves.
CeeDee's done pretty well with Cooper Rush.
They still don't use him, right?
Right, but the point is, you got Slay and Bradbury on the outside. You should be able to limit him, and if you do that, all they've got is the run game.
The point is that people get paid to scout players, and based on their talent, they get drafted. Like they go through a process called the draft based on what you scouted them for. But for some reason in this NFL, you draft the fucking player based on certain skill sets, and then you put them in a system and don't use them for those skill sets. And then people say they suck.
You're not on the Kellen Moore for head coach? Ben?
No, and I never was. And I cannot wait to bump them posts. I can't. I'm just waiting because I want to see Kellen Moore head coach so I can point out what Kellen Moore is doing now and what he's doing as a head coach. He's an idiot, bro.
You can just fade him. Yeah.
Kellen Moore is a poor man's Kyle Shanahan. And I don't really like Kyle Shanahan either. I
like the offenses the Shanahan runs. I think his decision making on things like fourth downs is terrible.
If he's the next coach of the Niners, I will renounce my fandom. Don't play with me, bro.
I will say this is one of the interesting games for even teams. If you're not an NFC East fan or whatever, if you're a bad team looking for a new head coach, every offensive defensive coordinator in this game is a guy who has the potential to be hyped up at least to be a head coach next year. So this is a game where watch to see what happens, especially you've got two really good defenses so far this year and one really good offense for the most part and what Philly's done. Let's see what these coaches do in the big moments.
Yeah, I did back Tom Sula, but I learned from my ways. Just like
Jesus, I didn't remember that. You backed Tom Sula?
Yeah, I was backing anybody that would.
I guess I didn't shit on Joe Judge year one.
Yeah.
I waited until year 2 to bail out, and so maybe
this guy shares stories about Marvin Lewis and fucking washing jock straps. I'm not gonna let him criticize me about backing a coach. Get out of here. Anyway, I'm just trying to figure out who is this Atlanta person. Nobody cares, man. The Niners losing to the Falcons is on the scale of 1 to 10. It's at the bottom of my I care list. We lost to the fucking Bears. Come on now. We lost to the Bears. That's the floor right there. The Bears losing to Atlanta is actually a step up. If I'm being honest.
That's true. Even accounting for the rain, losing to the Bears was worse.
If we had to beat the Bears and we were coming in here undefeated or something. But if you've got losses on your schedule and one of them are the Bears or one of them are the
Panthers
or the Panthers,
who did the Panthers beat actually?
Fuck, I don't even know. But we only got 20 seconds left. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles to win too. Hope the Cowboys cover, but it is what it is.
Carolina beat the Saints. Shame on you, Saints.
Thank you guys for participating. We will try to do this every week in between the games and try to be done by kickoff. Make sure you watch the game. Make sure you comment on the threads. Thank you, Joe. I'll catch you guys next week.